We're rolling into week 4, and today we're going to go game by game, matchup by matchup, and look at those must-start players, those players we're starting in fantasy football in those games. We're going to try and predict the game script. Also, in this video, you can go down to the comment section and drop your fantasy football question. Try to answer one below, and I will answer them Saturday night. This week we got a kicker though, because I have a massive storm running in and I'm trying to get this video done early Friday. So some news might end up shaking some things up. And if I lose power, I might be a little bit late getting to those questions. So try to help somebody else out as well. But I'm still going to do my best this week to get to your guys' questions. So make sure you ask them below. And you need to click that subscribe button right now, because we're doing this every week. Going over the must-starts. I'm answering your questions in the comment section on these must-start videos to help you with your lineups. And then we go hot and heavy on the waiver wire throughout the week. We do deep dives on the players and everything else. Click that button, stop missing out. But our first must-start matchup, must-start players to look at, comes from the Rams and Bears. Rams and Bears. We got Kyren Williams getting all the touches, so you're chasing those touches. DeMarcus Robinson, or you're chasing any other Rams wide receiver. I think it's going to be like a carousel effect with those wide receivers. Robinson's the safest one due to the target share and the air yards, but technically they're not really safe. It could go anywhere. And the Bears are not really safe when it goes to skilled players, but DJ Moore gets a lot of targets. Rome Odunze has been firing lately in fantasy, but he's not like a must-start. And Roschon Johnson seems like the hot get off the waiver wire for the Bears at running back. No way you're starting Swift. He's averaging 1.8 yards per carry right now, unless you absolutely have to, because he is running a lot of routes. I just don't recommend it. But looking at the Packers and Vikings, big time matchup here. We got an over-under at 44. Justin Jefferson, of course. Aaron Jones, of course. Jalen Naylor might be that sneaky play for you. And when we're looking at the Packers, it matters if Jordan Love's going to be back. He's a game-time decision. They're really making the Vikings scheme for both quarterbacks here. That's a smart thing to do. And then you're looking at the wide receivers. Like I said, with the Rams, we got a carousel effect here with the Packers. Jaden Reed's the safest one due to target share. Dubs is the next safest one due to routes ran. But any wide receiver can get it. And it really depends who's in at quarterback. And then also Josh Jacobs getting workload. Maybe he runs it back with more fancy points this week. And you're also watching what Manny Wilson's doing on the field. Now we're looking at the Steelers and Colts. And George Pickens, no matter the game script, is good for at least 5 targets per game. Unless it's week 2, but he's always good for the volume here. So you're chasing him. Not really anybody else off the Steelers. Run backs, though. Jonathan Taylor, because he's getting volume. Michael Pittman, if you're kind of sketchy right now, because he's getting target share. It's just the targets are accurate enough when it's going his way. The offense isn't flowing, and Anthony Richardson isn't really getting it done in the passing game. But if you're chasing target share, he's a guy to look at here. And now we're looking at the Broncos and Jets. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, for sure, locked in. If you're chasing a flex wide receiver, maybe Allen Lazard, but we got a low over-under here. It could be a slow-paced game. Cortland Sutton on the Broncos, he's getting a good target share. He's getting good average depth of target. He's going to be hit and miss this season. The Denver running backs, Jaleel McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, you're just going to have to pick your poison there. It's different each week when it comes to the workload, so just pick your poison. But there's really not any must-starts from the Broncos, but guys getting worked. Bengals versus Panthers. Jamar Chase, of course, you're starting him, but it's Yoshi versus Higgins. Who you betting on that matchup? On top of that, Zach Moss. Is the Bengals going to be up on the Panthers? If so, it's going to be a Zach Moss game. On top of that, how are you going to get up on the Panthers? Is one of these wide receivers going to go off? Is it going to be a Higgins game? This is second game back from that injury. Run backs, Chuba Hubbard's getting a workload. Doesn't guarantee fantasy production, but it does say he's more likely going to get a lot of work. Deontay Johnson getting a good target share. Blew up last week. Should continue to get to work in the passing game. That's really what matters here. So look at him as well. Jaguars versus Texans. Tank Dell's hurt, so a lot of targets going to Nico Collins downfield. Stephon Diggs is going to get those underneath targets. Cam Akers is back. Looks like he's going to be getting workload. And remember, the Texans were behind in that game last week, so the game script wasn't really for Cam Akers. And if the game script can be for him this week, you might get some good touches. You might. You're chasing workload if you're starting Cam Akers, so you know the pitfall to that. Run backs here. Travis Etienne, because he's getting workload. He's getting good opportunity. And now you got to pick your poison with the wide receivers. Brian Thomas, Christian Kirk. I like Brian Thomas because he gets the deep ball. And I like him because he's the better talent. Christian Kirk gets volume over the middle, the short game. That being said, pick your poison with that one. And now you're looking at Eagles versus Bucks. We got a low over under because the wide receivers are out for the Eagles. No A.J. Brown, no Devonta Smith. Chris Godwin, questionable, but looks like he's going to play. Mike Evans is also rocking the queue, so just watch for him. Rachaad White versus Bucky Irving here in this matchup, like it is every week, and it's going to be like going forward. Of course, Saquon Barkley's getting started. Jahan Dotson is getting more routes each week, getting more snaps each week. One day, that's going to add up to something. And you're losing the starting wide receivers here. But I'm expecting Dallas Goedert to get more work here. I'm expecting him to get more opportunity. Dotson might get a few extra targets, though, but I'm not going to count on him. Now we're looking at Saints and Falcons. Of course, Chris Olave is getting the deep ball. Of course, Alvin Kamara is getting a lot of workload. Rashid Shaheed, you can gamble on him. He hits in about 1 out of every 4 games. Run backs here. Bijan Drake, Kyle Pitts. The same crew. The same crew. We got a 42 over under. If this game script breaks, then you look at Darnell Mooney, but it's a little bit of a gamble here. Ray McLeod, if the Saints secondary locks up Drake London and Pitts, maybe they go underneath. You got some upside here with the Falcons. You got a lot of upside with the Saints. This is going to be a fun one to watch. Niners versus Patriots. Brandon Ayuk's been locked up, but he's getting target share. Jordan Mason's getting all the volume, and you're going to chase that. Debo, sounds like he's going to be back. Maybe he's back, maybe he's not. Same with Kittle. He's practicing. Juwan Jennings, though, hit last week. If one of those guys is out, he's going to get volume, and he's probably going to get a decent volume going forward. Run backs, Ramondre Stevenson. Can you trust him? This is a bad matchup. Workload might not be there, especially if the game script isn't there. But Demario Douglas, 20% target share, low ADOT. Might be worth the gamble if you're hurting at flex. Now we're looking at the Commanders and the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., but Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, one of them's going to get it. Maybe Greg Dortch underneath, but James Conner's getting the touches. He's going to get workload and opportunity. So, of course, you're looking at starting him. For the run backs, Terry McLaurin hit last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. We got 50 over under here. We might catch some fireworks. Brian Robinson's going to get more work with Austin Eckler out, so you're definitely firing him up this week. Now we're looking at Chiefs and the Chargers. We got a 40 over under. The Chiefs are locked down on defense. Of course, you're starting Rashee Rice. You'd be insane if you didn't. Xavier Worthy's always a good upside play if you want to gamble. Travis Kelce should have a decent matchup this week. And also Carson Steele getting volume up the gut. Kareem Hunt is elevated to the 53. I might drop a unique video. You never know. Run backs, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey. With the Chiefs being more locked down, I see targets going underneath the Ladd McConkey. Maybe some volume there. Even though the volume went to him last week with 6 targets, it didn't happen against Pittsburgh. Might happen this week. Quentin Johnston has been hot right now. J.K. Dobbins has been getting work. He's been looking explosive. Browns and Raiders, kind of an ugly matchup. It's a masochistic matchup. Devontae Adams getting workload. Brock Bowers getting workload. Devontae Adams also ended up on the injury report this week. You're watching him. Zamir White versus Alex Madison. I don't want anything of this backfield, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Run backs. Amari Cooper went off last week. He's been getting the target share and air yards all year long. He's always a guy to look at. Jerry Jeudy, same thing. A little bit more mild, but the same thing. Jerome Ford's back healthy, back to practicing. You might want to look at him. Now we're looking at the Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, 46.5 over under. This game script might break. Khalil Shakur has been looking good. He's looking like the go-to guy in the offense. James Cook has been getting a lot of volume in the run game, so you're just always going to start him. Dalton Kincaid might get his. This is also a tough matchup for everybody involved. Run backs for the Baltimore Ravens is Derrick Henry. Of course, you're looking at the tight ends. You're also looking at Zay Flowers getting volume underneath. And then on top of this, you got the Titans and the Miami Dolphins. Calvin Ridley getting a good target share deep downfield. And then on top of that, Tony Pollard has been explosive, and they could be up on the Dolphins due to the quarterback play. And if they are, this could be a good home run swing for Tony Pollard this week. On top of this, we're looking at the run backs. Devin Achane's getting volume. He's fast. He's explosive. He could still be a home run hitter, even with the offense looking down. Tyreek Hill, Waddle. Can you start him? Can you start him? You have to due to the volume, but the upside's there due to home run hitting speed, but the downside is a lot more severe nowadays. Seahawks versus Lions. There's going to be a lot of fantasy producers in this matchup. You're starting everybody. You're at least looking at everybody. Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Gibbs versus Monty for the touches and touchdowns. J-Mo because he goes YOLO. Sam Laporta because he gets volume. It could be a Sam Laporta game. It could not be. You won't know till the game script starts flowing. For the run backs here, you got DK Metcalf getting the targets, the safest of the wide receivers. Also, Jackson Smith-Njigba versus Lockett. This is a good matchup for one of those two wide receivers to go off. Kenneth Walker versus Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker's back at practice. Watch him because they might fire him back up. Those are the matchups going into week 4. We're looking at the must starts, sneaky starts, guys to sit, everything in between. Remember, drop your questions in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.